What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode, a special episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. It's Monday evening. Happy Labor Day. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. We're going to be doing the live Fantasy Fellowship $25 draft. This is the Money League. We have a 12-team league here. The draft's about to start in 5 minutes, but I kind of wanted to just come in and get things going a little bit before the draft started and make sure everyone's aware of the rules. We had kind of done some voting on some things, and we have figured out that we are doing a one quarterback draft, one starting defense. I'll pull up the rules here, and we'll kind of review those quickly. I got pick 2. I'm pretty happy about that. We'll kind of talk about everybody's spot once we get in there, but it's your prototypical 4-point passing touchdown league. 0.04 points per yard. That's basically 25 yards equal a point. Rushing touchdowns are 6. Rushing yards are 0.1. Receiving yards 0.1. Each reception's a full PPR here. 6 for the touchdowns. No kickers in this league here, but we do have team defenses. So team defenses, 0 points get you 10, and it kind of goes down, 2 points per threshold there. And then for your roster format, and I guess you can see it over here, we're starting 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, and 1 defenses. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bench, and I believe we have 2 IR spots. So we'll be having fun. Good evening to everybody, though. Hope you guys are all doing well. Shout out to Harris. I saw Tony was in the chat. Tony with the, I think, the first pick there. So congrats on that. George at 3, John pick 4, Sydney pick 5, Chase pick 6, Brian pick 7. Hopefully Brian pops in here. Devontae at pick 8, Harris pick 9, Ben pick number 10, Zach 11, and Ruben pick 12. So we got a couple minutes before this sucker kicks off. And I don't know, man. I'm happy week 1, guys. We have finally made it all the way here. We have football on Thursday this week. Chiefs-Ravens is going to be pretty good TV. I think so. Tomorrow I have my most important draft, so I'm not able to do a live stream or anything tomorrow. But Wednesday night I do plan on hanging out and kind of just reviewing or previewing some of the week 1 games that we want to talk about. So we'll look at all that and have some fun doing so. I'm probably going to be pulling up my rankings throughout the video today too. You guys can still get access to that on the fantasyfellowship.com. And Kermit with the number 11 pick here. We got Chase Brown. Good evening, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. This sucker's about to start in 1 minute and 40 seconds or so. It looks like we got pretty much everybody here. And the good news is everybody's paid the $25. So thank you in advance, everybody, for getting that in. It just kind of helps make sure everybody's, basically paying attention and caring about the league. $25. It's not a lot, but it's also not enough for someone to just blow it off, So we will. I think we're doing a $200 payout to first. We got about $300 to work with, so we're going to do $200 to first, and I believe it's 75 and 25. 75 for second, 25 for number 3. And then I do want to just mention the playoff rules. My leagues are always 7-team playoffs. Whenever it's 12 teams, we do 7-man playoffs. Number 1 seed's going to get the bye. Seeds 2 through 6 are in on records, with the points being the tiebreaker. And then number 7 is in on purely points. Now, the major wrinkle to the playoffs is I do what my league calls it a Royal Rumble, where round 1 of the playoffs, doesn't matter if you're seeded 2 through 7. There's no head-to-head matchup that week. We're taking the top 3 scores. So in the playoff, yeah, you're going to be matched up against somebody else, but we're looking at all 6 scores, and we're going to move the top 3 scores to the final 4. Once we get to round 2, we will reseed as properly, and we'll just have your standard head-to-head matchups in the final 4, and then your championship will just be, 1 team versus 1 team. So if you guys have questions on that, let me know. It's one of my favorite things about the leagues that I run here. Everybody gets a chance to win in that first round of the playoffs. And basically, if you score a lot of points, you're going to be in good shape. And we got 5 seconds here. This draft is about to start. I just want to make sure I got my sound off there. And it looks like pretty much everybody's here. Maybe Brian and George pop in and make their picks tonight. But we shall see. And Tony's kicking it off for us. Pick 101. I'm pretty happy with my 102 spot. I get a guy that I really, really like here. I kind of wanted a top 5 spot to begin with, but we'll see what Tony kicks back to me here. He does take Christian McCaffrey. Don't get me wrong. I love Bijan. I love Breece Hall, but I'm taking CeeDee Lamb with this pick, guys. I absolutely love CeeDee Lamb. So we're off and underway here. George made it in. We're still waiting to see if Brian sneaks in here. I'm thinking he'll pop in, but so far so good. Everybody's here, and we're moving. Bijan Robinson goes 3rd overall. And I'm just curious, do you guys have any more drafts left to go this week here? I have my most important league is tomorrow night. We just weren't able to get it done this weekend with some people traveling and things like that. But tomorrow night's my most important super flex draft. I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. And then, yeah, Wednesday night, we're going to be doing – I'll do some kind of start-sit video here where we're just looking at some of the games. I already put up the start-sit charts for week 1. If you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, I put out weekly start-sit charts, but I'm kind of changing it up a little bit just with the membership tab. I have them all available for week 1 this week, but I think week 2, they're going to be behind the paywall. I'll also have weekly rankings, for positions behind the paywall. But we're still going to have, waiver wire and a few other things for you guys to look at. We'll start getting, fantasy points allowed, things like that. But it looks like everybody made it. So congrats on making it to the draft, and everybody's ready to roll. And Harris has 2 drafts this week. This is the latest I've probably ever drafted my most important league, and I'm actually kind of happy with it because we're able to get this is Tony's last one. I like waiting until Labor Day weekend, because we needed information on whether it's CeeDee Lamb's contract, Ayuk's contract, the lack of contract for Ja'Marr Chase. And I will say, did Ja'Marr Chase go yet? I don't think I saw Ja'Marr Chase go yet. We'll just leave the picks up there. Harris takes Ja'Marr Chase here. I did want to share something that I was reading about Ja'Marr Chase. I got to see if I can find it. I think there's a chance he could get suspended. They're saying they're going to take it day by day, but let me see if I can find – I don't remember where I saw it get tweeted, but someone said that if he does miss week 1, he's subject to a potential fine. I can't remember where I saw that. Or did Ja'Marr Chase just get a deal here? I don't know if this guy's – I don't know. Did Ja'Marr Chase just get paid? We'll see. But either way, I don't think Ja'Marr Chase, basically Wednesday, if he's not practicing on Wednesday, I don't think he's going to play in week 1 here. And Chase with 9 drafts this year. This is I think I have 2 dynasty leagues that I pay for. I have my keeper league. I have my super flex league, and this is my 5th money league. So I only play in 5 money leagues. So to me, 5 is a good number. 9 would drive me nuts. I probably have up to 9 leagues though, with like the free league and a couple other free leagues that I play in. But for me, 9 money leagues that would be crazy. I think 5 is a good number for me. But hey, we're through the first round here. We got CeeDee Lamb, Bijan, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Breece, the top 6. Justin Jefferson at 7, Garrett Wilson, Ja'Marr Chase, JT, AJ Brown, and Saquon Barkley to finish round 1. And the start of round 2 is underway with Puka and Jahmyr Gibbs. But yeah, I don't know what to think of the Ja'Marr Chase stuff. Yeah, okay, 7. Okay, that's not as bad. And I think we are getting rid of the free league next year. So that one will get weeded out. I want people to play in the money league. So we're probably getting rid of the fellowship free league next year. Even though it's a good way to get some reps in some drafts and stuff like that. But I'd rather just get rid of it and just focus on this one, if that's okay. We got Kieran Williams and Travis Etienne there. Do you guys think Ja'Marr Chase is going to play week 1? I think Wednesday, that's going to be the first day for practice reports that we get. We're going to get, news on a lot of guys, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins, Jaylen Warren, a lot of those guys that are questionable for week 1. We'll get news on them, which will feel good. But I'm nervous about Ja'Marr Chase. I can't remember the tweet that I found, but I read somewhere that there's a chance he could get suspended by the team and he could lose about like 1.8 million or something like that. So we'll have to monitor that. Isaiah Pacheco there. Good pick there by Devontae. And I don't know what I want to do at pick 23 and 26. We're going to see what falls here. This round 2 has been pretty much a running back round so far. Only Puka Nacua as the receiver. We got 5 straight running backs off the board. So the running backs might have been tapped out here for me. Drake London, looks like we're going to go a little bit more receiver here. I love Drake London this year. I think he's going to be he's a lock to put up a career year with Kirk Cousins in this passing offense. We're moving pretty good here. This is a good speed. But let me know if you guys have any questions. And I just want to make sure this is a 1 QB league. It looks like everybody's aware of the rules. We're doing the 1 defense, 1 quarterback. If we want to vote on changing rules next year, we can always talk about that during the season. Marvin Harrison, 2.9. James Cook, 2.8. And I'm on deck, so I'm going to take a peek here at the players available to me. I got Olave, Pittman, Evans, Devontae, Rashad, Nico, Malik Neighbors, Josh Jacobs. I like Metcalf. I like Debo. I got Devon Achane all the way down here at 41. Seems a little weird. So I got CeeDee Lamb. I would like to get a running back here, but I just don't know if I want to. I mean, this is heavy receivers available at the best available list here. So I'm probably looking at receivers here at the 2-3 turn. George goes with Chris Olave. I got Pittman, Evans, Devontae. I'm going to go Nico Collins here. I think he's one of my favorite receiver targets of the fantasy season this year. I think he's going to be the clear number 1 in Houston. He's going to run, I don't know, upwards of 90-95% of the routes. Like, he's just going to be always out there for CJ Stroud. And I think he was a top 10 receiver last year. The presence of Stephon Diggs could help Nico Collins. So I'm all aboard the Nico Collins in 2024. He was just a monster last year, and he finished the year so good too. A lot of big, massive games here, 27, 35, 34, 34. I love that ceiling. Yeah, Nico, and in best ball drafts, Nico Collins is probably he's like the 15th, 16th overall guy a lot of times here. So I know people like Nico this year, but London goes higher in best ball drafts. So I'm on the clock. Tony grabs 2 big receivers, Mike Evans and DK Metcalf. I like those 2 picks. Man, I can't believe how much they boosted Malik Neighbors here. That is crazy. Malik Neighbors all the way up at 27. I think a week or so ago, he was, like in the 50s at the end of the 4th and 5th round. I do like Josh Jacobs here. As just being a Packer fan, I don't mind taking Josh Jacobs and seeing what comes back to me. I really like Devon Achane, so I have to let somebody go. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs just because I think he's going to be safe and steady for me. I didn't get a running back in the first 2 rounds. I think Josh Jacobs is probably a top 10, top 12 back by the end of the year. I kind of wanted Devon Achane there, but we'll let it go. And I just think in these in these ESPN drafts, I just noticed receivers, they kind of stretch all the way to the 6th, 7th, 8th round. So I don't want to be too top heavy at the position. I want to make sure I get some guys that I feel good about at both positions. So Josh Jacobs, RB1 for me, and I feel pretty good about Jacobs this year. We'll keep it on lock here on this screen. I don't know. Are you guys if you guys had to choose there, are you guys taking Josh Jacobs? Are you guys taking ETN? Or I guess ETN's already gone. For me, the only running backs that I wasn't thinking about Rachaad White. I wasn't thinking about Kamara. That's too high for me. I think at that 2-3 turn, it was pretty much Achane or Josh Jacobs for me at that spot. But the receivers are I like the Debo pull there by John. I'm nervous about Pittman Jr. I'm nervous about Devontae Adams this year. But as a 3rd round pick, I think Devontae's looking like a value. I still think Pittman's a little overvalued at this point. I'd rather take Malik Neighbors. I'd rather take DJ Moore. I'd rather take some guys that are kind of locked into some higher upside receiving profiles. But Josh Allen, first QB off the board. So we got 1 QB off the board. We still have all the tight ends left too. So that's a little bit of dip here on some tight ends and some QBs so far. I want to know, was there any player that you guys weren't able to draft this year on your teams that you're mad that you didn't get them? With me having my most important draft tomorrow night, I think I'll be able to get some of the guys that I really, really want. But I struggle with this 3rd and 4th round a lot because I like a lot of names here, whether it's Jacobs, Debo, I like Malik Neighbors. I like Ayuk. I like DJ Moore. I like some of the tight ends. I like Achane. I like Walker. I like Devonta Smith. There's so many guys here that I like, and it's hard to get everybody on the same team. We do see Davante Adams go there. I think round 3, pick 6 is a pretty dang good value. He did grade out as a top 12 receiver for me in full PPR, so I think that's a pretty solid pick. And then you got Malik Neighbors there at round 3, pick 7. I feel pretty good about that one too. Devontae grabs Jalen Hurts, and Harris grabs Rachaad White. Yeah, I think I've been thinking about the Raiders quarterback play last year. Like Jimmy Garoppolo was just complete ass. Like he was so bad for the first 5 or 6 games, whatever it was. And then we're talking about what, a 5th or 6th round rookie Aiden O'Connell coming in to throw Davante Adams, and Adams was still of use. And I think this year the quarterback play will be better. We're talking Gardner Minshew, who, despite his issues, he still boosted Michael Pittman to his best career season. And Gardner Minshew can throw to the number 1 target. So I like that for Davante. I think that's an upgrade. And then if it does go back to Aiden O'Connell in theory should be better year 2 than he was as a rookie. So I think it's going to be a lot more stable situation from the QB spot in the Raiders this year. And I think Davante Adams, man, as he's falling here into the middle of the 3rd round, I think you're going to be happy with that pick. And hey, there's still a small chance that he gets traded. Whether it's the Jets or another team, there's still a chance he can get traded at some point this year. Tony says he kept missing out on Olave and Nico Collins. I had a draft, a slow draft kind of over this weekend, and I missed out. We missed out on Nico, who we really, really wanted in our keeper draft. We also missed out on Devonta Smith. That was just one pick before us, and we also missed out on Jaden Reed. So we actually didn't get a Packer in our draft, which was pretty disappointing. But I think Chris Olave is one of the more intriguing receivers this year, because I think a lot of people like Chris Olave. They just don't like the Saints and Derek Carr and the situation over there. But man, I think Chris Olave is going to flirt with top 5, top 10 target share numbers this year for the receiver position. And that's traditionally what I like to look at. I want a guy that's going to get 8, 9, 10 targets per game, because that's just where the fantasy points flow to, So I think we're looking at a 160 target season for a guy like Chris Olave. Where did Olave go? Let me see here. I mean, just last year he had 138 targets. I think he's going over that. And I do think, probably setting career, like they have him going for career high in yards and touchdowns. But I expect those targets and those receptions to be higher than this ESPN projection. So Olave, you can put him in as your wide receiver too, and I think you feel pretty good about it. And he does have, all it takes is for him to run hot on some touchdowns. If he catches 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, all of a sudden that's what's going to put him closer to top 5, top 10. But Nico Collins for me, man, is one of my he's one of my guilty pleasure guys that I want in all my leagues this year. But hey, we're moving. We just finished up the 3rd round. Let me kind of recap that. After I took, Metcalf and Jacobs at the top of the 3rd, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Josh Allen, Davante Adams, Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hurts, Rachaad White, Brandon Ayuk, Devon Achane at pick 35, and then Devonta Smith here. So I really like that 3rd round. There's a lot of names in there, a lot of very good potential names. And then we're off in the 4th round here. Mixon, Alvin Kamara, and the first tight end off the board. So we have 2 QBs, Hurts and Allen, and we have our first tight end off the board in Sam Laporta. And I've kind of been on the record saying I don't want to be the first person to pull a tight end. But when they fall to me in the 4th round, that's when I'm open to doing it. Like, for some reason, the ADP on Kelsey and Laporta had been pretty high all summer, and I wasn't drafting a lot of, Kelsey and Laporta teams. But as Laporta falls to the 4th, I think that's a pretty good looking value there. And that's kind of what I've been telling people. I like to, evaluate tight end in the 4th round, but definitely the 5th, 6th round is kind of when I'm looking at tight ends the most. And so we got a big fall on Michael Pittman so far. He's ranked 19th on ESPN. I like that pull there by Devontae there with Kenneth Walker. I think Walker's he kind of is Josh Jacobs-esque. And I think that those two guys aren't all that different. I took Josh Jacobs because I like the Packers and I want to make sure I got a Packer here. But I think Kenneth Walker If he stays healthy, man, he's got double-digit touchdown upside. I think he's a better receiving back than people give him credit for. Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that I want to try and get on my team tomorrow night. And then DJ Moore there. I think DJ Moore at round 4, pick 6 is a really great value there by Brian. I think he's the clear number 1 receiver for Chicago, and we're kind of just giving him a big discount. He was wide receiver 5 last year with Justin Fields, and he's getting a pretty big quarterback upgrade. I know there's going to be some competition with Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze, but I still think DJ Moore, when you can get him as your wide receiver 3, the dude's talented. He was just a top 5 receiver last year. I think DJ Moore is a fantastic pick there in the 4th round. And then we got the Rashee Rice pull. Chase scrolled down a little bit and hit the Rashee Rice button. I like Rashee Rice. I actually just traded for Rashee Rice in a dynasty league today. And I also I drafted him in one of my other leagues over the weekend. So I'm in on Rashee Rice. He's one of those guys that I think has been just way too underpriced on the ESPN, the Sleeper, the Yahoos. People have been kind of accounting for a 3-game suspension, and I just don't think it's happening this year, maybe 2025. Yeah, Rashee. Oh, okay. So they did boost him up to 48. Okay. So, and I still think that's probably too low, honestly. If Rashee plays all 17 games, I mean, he was a very, very good player last year. And I'm on deck here. I'm liking the board here. Quarterbacks are here. Lamar, Mahomes. I like both those guys. I think running backs, I mean, there's not a running back available here on the top available list. I'd have to scroll down, and look for Ramondre Swift, Aaron Jones, Zamir White. I think the board's telling me to look at QB here. I could slap in a little Kelsey Mahomes if I want. I'm not sure if I will do that. I think Lamar Jackson's a pretty fun pick at this turn here. I could go Lamar. It's interesting. You can go Lamar and Mark Andrews. You can go Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You can get a really nice stack there. George finally gets Michael Pittman off the board. I think that was a good snag there. I'm not taking Diggs here. I'm kind of interested in T. Higgins, man. I think just with this Jamar Chase stuff, he might be a little rusty coming back. It could take him some time to get in. But T. Higgins is also playing for a contract, whether it's with the Bengals or a new team next year. So I'm kind of interested there. In a 1 QB league, I typically wait. I want to wait for my quarterback, but I'm gonna grab Patrick Mahomes here. I don't have any shares of Mahomes in any of my leagues this year, and we'll see what Tony sends back to me. I'm not opposed to taking Kelce here if he throws it back. T. Higgins, man, it excites me. I think there's a lot of wide receiver 1s left, though. And Tony goes Godwin. Yeah. Man, this is tough. And Tony grabs the T. Higgins. I think that's a good pick. So I can go Travis Kelce here if I want. I can get the Mahomes Kelce stack, which sounds kind of fun. Andrews, Trey McBride is there. I've had Mark Andrews for the past few years in a keeper league. We went with Trey McBride this year. I'm thinking I'm gonna have some fun this year. We're gonna go Travis Kelce, and we're gonna ride the Mahomes Kelce stack and see how this works. Gully says, "Yo, should I drop down on Mooney for Josh Palmer?" I think so. I think I have Josh Palmer leading the Chargers in receptions and in targets this year and yards. I think he is the number 1 receiver. He's kind of like a Romeo Doubs type, where he's not a super great profile as a wide receiver, but he's going to be on the field the most of all the Chargers receivers, just because he can play outside, inside. He's a bigger body, and he can also stretch the field. So I think Josh Palmer is probably playing upwards of 80-90% of the routes and snaps. Mooney, as much as I like him, he's the number 2 receiver on that team, and he's probably the number 3 target, sometimes the number 4 target, because you got to put London and Pitts ahead of him. And I think there could be games where Mooney pops off and is the number 2 target. But I think we're talking about the number 1 target on a team, even though they're not going to throw the ball a lot. I would rank Palmer higher. I do think McConkey takes a good amount of targets, but we're talking about a team that's probably going to lead the league or be close to leading the league in 2 wide receiver sets. And that probably puts Ladd McConkey somewhere in the 60 to 70% routes run rate, which at that point, I don't know if that's a must start player. Like I'm worried McConkey is just a slot player and not a full-time participant in the offense. So he will take targets, but I think Josh Palmer is a guy that's going to be getting a lot more work and opportunity to get those targets. So it's close. I'm still thinking Josh Palmer, though, is a much better stash over Mooney. And let me get back to pick history here. Okay, so we're moving into the 5th round. We got a lot of good names coming off the board here. You got T. Higgins by Tony Air to kick us off. I think Kelsey in the 5th is fine. Trey McBride right there by George is a great pull. Lamar Jackson, we got some bangers here in the 5th round. George Pickens, who he won the Brandon Ayuk standoff here. He's going to be a very good wide receiver 3 flex. You got Mark Andrews there at 54 and Evan Ingram at 55. So big tight end round. We got 4 elite tight ends off the board. And I can tell you guys watch my stuff because this is kind of when my favorite area to draft a tight end is that 5th round. I like to evaluate and just say, yep, I'm kind of saving myself for one of these tight ends. And I don't think I've taken Travis Kelce at all, like in any of my mock drafts. So this is kind of fun to see him fall. I think he had been ranked. He just had been ranked so high all summer. And I just hadn't been taking him in the, late 2nd, early 3rd round range. And then Dalton Kincaid. So all the tight ends are getting snapped up. I think that leaves maybe just Kyle Pitts left as the last potential tight end 1. And just from all my stuff I've been doing, guys, we've talked. I don't think George Kittle has tight end 1 upside. He'd have to go crazy with like 12 touchdowns or something like that. But I do think Kyle Pitts has the potential to be a tight end 1. So it looks like there's, I think there's 2 really good ones left. I'm still unsure on Njoku. I like Njoku quite a bit, and I think he's just entering his prime, and he's probably going to be a problem for a lot of opposing defenses. But I think he's, a little bit boom bust. I think Ferguson's a little bit more secure with his weekly output, and I think he is the number 2, number 3 target for the Cowboys. So I kind of weigh that, Njoku, the number 2, number 3 target on the Browns versus the number 2, number 3 target on the Cowboys. I probably lean Ferguson just a little bit, but some good tight ends left here. Quarterbacks, we got Richardson, Stroud, Burrow, Dak. This is a 1 QB league, so someone's going to get some good value here on some QBs. Hopefully you guys keep pushing up running backs and some flex players to us here. But we'll go back to the pick history board here. It looks like Tank Dell and Terry McLaurin. So we got some nice wide receiver 3s coming off the board here. I think I like Tank Dell's upside a lot. I think Amari Cooper and Terry McLaurin are both great picks because they are the number 1 player on their offense as well. But Tank Dell intrigues me, man. I think he's, pound for pound, he's one of the better receivers in the league. He had a lot of highlight plays last year, big playability here. The thing that kind of holds me back from Tank Dell over guys like Cooper and McLaurin, though, is just how much is he like. That's one of the stats that I like to look at is how many snaps are they running? How many targets are they getting per snap? Stuff like that. I do think Dell is going to be a high target per snap guy, targets per route run. But I do worry about games where he kind of gets lost behind Diggs or Nico Collins. There we go. We see Kyle Pitts go at 60 here. Ruben grabs Kyle Pitts and CJ Stroud. So quarterbacks and tight ends, man, they're starting to get hit up here pretty good as we all like those values in the 5th and 6th rounds. And I'm trying to think, do we have any other major news that we have to be watching this week? Tyler Lockett feeling pretty good. So Hollywood Brown's not playing on Thursday night. I think we should all know that. The other one that I thought too was interesting was Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not playing. He got put on the NFI list, which raised my eyebrow because they just signed Samaje Perine. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out at least 4 games. You're going to see Samaje Perine be the RB2 in this offense, and that feels pretty good, So we'll probably talk about Perine towards the end of the draft. But if you guys play, in any leagues right now, and you already got, somebody on the end of the bench that you're not too happy with, you could swap in Samaje Perine. I think he's going to be maybe not quite as good as what Jerick McKinnon had once been in that offense, but I think he's going to probably get a similar role to what McKinnon has had, where Perine's he's a great bulldozer back. He's a great pass catching back. He's a great, blitz pickup back. He can do all that stuff that they're looking for in pass protection. So I think Samaje Perine, probably need to go look at your waiver wires and just make sure he's not hanging out there. As much as I like Pacheco, I still love Isaiah Pacheco in the second round, but I do think Perine is definitely an upgrade at the RB2 spot for the Chiefs. We got CJ Stroud, Deontay Johnson, Anthony Richardson, James Conner, Stephon Diggs, and Ramondre Stevenson off the board in the 6th round so far. DeAndre Swift goes, and hopefully Ricky Pearsall is going to be okay. That was a pretty scary, story to follow the other night. Shot in the chest during an armed robbery by a 17-year-old. So he's not playing the first 4 games. We might not see him play at all this season, honestly. We don't really know too much, but getting shot in the chest, never something you want to hear. And then Jaylen Warren practiced on Monday and is expected to play in week 1. So not afraid to take Jaylen Warren. I like Josh Downs as a sleeper too. He's progressing well with that high ankle sprain. I don't know. Steichen didn't say if he practiced or if he will or not practice on Wednesday. So big day on Wednesday here to see if our guy Josh Downs is going to go. Looks like I missed out on DeAndre Swift. Chase grabbed him. George Kittle, Zamir White here, round 6, pick 9. And I'm on deck. So I'm going to take a peek here. I'm not going quarterback here. I already got Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, JSN, Javonte Williams, Najee, B-Rob, Jaylen Warren. I got some names here that I feel pretty good about. David Montgomery off the board here. So these are my flex positions, or my running back position potentially. I gotta see what Tony's cooking here. Tony needs a QB. He needs a tight end. He needs a running back. He's got receivers. All right, we'll push that. We'll push that around here. I'm gonna go Javonte Williams here, RB2. I feel pretty good about him just getting a bunch of targets and enough carries to be of use. Maybe not as many touchdowns in his potential outlook here, but I think he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of touches. So I feel good about Javonte at RB2. And we'll go back to flex here. So we'll see what Tony does. He does need a QB tight end, but he might push it. You never know what Tony's going to do. I really like this round. This is one of my favorite. The 7th round is one of my favorites. A lot of good up-and-coming running backs and receivers in this round. And I like the Christian Watson pull there. I think Watson's one of those guys that, I don't think the story has been fully written on Christian Watson. It sounds like he's had a pretty healthy training camp. If he can put those hamstring and those soft tissue injuries behind him, we've seen what he can do, and he's a pretty exciting player. But I'm on the clock here. I'm going to go with one of my favorite players to draft, and that's going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba. I could take a Packer receiver here. Jaden Reed shouldn't be here right now, but I'm going Jackson Smith-Njigba, man. He's one of my favorite guys. I kind of stamped my name on him. I want him in pretty much all my drafts this season. Yeah, we can take a peek at the teams after the draft. We're about halfway through, so maybe in a half hour or so, maybe 25, 30 minutes, we'll go through and take a peek at everybody's team. Kyler Murray there, that's a great, waiting for quarterback like Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. There's a lot of good quarterback values right now, and that's my one issue with 1 QB leagues is it's not a great. It's almost like shooting fish in a barrel. Just waiting for your QB1. Burrow just went. Dak Prescott's still available. Jordan Love's still available. Kyler Murray in the 7th round. I think it does pay to wait for your QB1. But Aaron Jones had an interesting quote or two out there today. Apparently, he was talking about how great the Minnesota trainers are and how ready he is to have the best year of his career. I'm not sure if I'm buying that. I'm a little bit nervous about the Vikings offense, but we know that when Jones is healthy, man, he is one of the best backs in the league, and he showed us that at the end of the year last year. We got Brian Robinson there, round 7, pick 5, Christian Kirk, Joe Burrow, and then Xavier Worthy, one of the exciting rookie wide receivers here. You do want to make sure you get some rookie receivers on your teams this year, and Worthy's he's at the top of the list. If you can't get Marvin, you can't get Neighbors. We really like Worthy. We like Odunze. I'm probably missing a couple other guys here, but tons of rookie receivers to stash in fantasy this year. And Harris grabs Jayden Reed. That's that pick. You know, I probably should have taken Jayden Reed ahead of Jackson Smith-Njigba. So good pull there by Harris. Let me see if there's any other news that we need to address. More Ja'Marr Chase stuff, man. I'm nervous, man. I'm pretty nervous about Ja'Marr Chase. Tyreek Hill practicing. We'll talk about Rico Dowdle later, but he's the favorite to lead the Cowboys in carries. I think if you got Rico on your team, you had a really good pick there in the later rounds. So I'm sure we'll all be gunning for Rico at some point here. It sounds like Marquise Brown could return for week 2. I think that's he's pretty cheap in fantasy drafts right now. He dropped a lot. So I don't mind putting Marquise on the bench for week 1 and, moving him to the IR or whatever. Dallas Goedert resumed practicing yesterday, so that's good news. We have been kind of monitoring his injuries for the last couple of weeks. Jerome Ford poised to have another strong season in the featured back role. I'm very open to Jerome Ford being a guy that, when Chubb is gone the first 4 weeks, you got to try and find a way to get Jerome Ford in your lineup, whether it's your RB2 or your flex. But even when Chubb returns, we're not guaranteed to see Nick Chubb be Nick Chubb again, especially right away. I think there's probably a ramp-up period in there. So I would bet you have, at least 5 to 6 games out of Jerome Ford where he's probably locked into a running back 2 role in full PPR leagues. But, even last year, they kind of platooned Jerome Ford with a couple other running backs, and he was still the leading receiving back. So I view, maybe by week 7, 8, 9, Jerome Ford's probably a guy that's getting 8 to 10 touches, on the ground and getting his, 2, 3, 4 targets per game, which, could be of use in full PPR as a RB2, RB3. But we're just wrapping up the 7th round here. 8th round is underway. After Jayden Reed, we see Keenan Allen, which pretty good deal on Keenan Allen, honestly. And even if he doesn't hold up all season, Keenan Allen at this point, he was one of the best receivers in all of fantasy football last year when he played. I think he can still play with Caleb Williams. We got a Jaden Daniels pull. We have a Devin Singletary pull here to end the 7th round. I just want to see what QBs are left. You got Dak, you got Love, you got Purdy, and I think pretty much everybody's got a quarterback. Maybe 1 or 2 teams don't have one. So we'll see where Love and Prescott fall. Running backs, we still got a lot of starting running backs left here. Harris, Warren, I think Spears and Pollard are kind of co-starters. You got Eckler, you got Mostert, Chase Brown. We'll see about Zeke and Moss, and then someone will pull Jonathan Brooks here at some point, I'm sure. And then you got the Charger guys. You got Chuba. There are a lot of running backs left here. And then I like a lot of the receivers left here too, so we should get some good receiver values coming up. But I'm going to go back to round 8 here. Looks like we got 1 team on auto pick, so that's okay. Thank you, Ben, for hanging out with us and getting your picks in. We'll see what the team looks like at the end of the draft. He gets Najee Harris there with the auto pick. Odunze Njoku Harris so far in the 8th round. Any other news here we need to cover? I was pretty encouraged to see Marshawn Lloyd back at practice on Sunday. I don't know what his availability is going to be for Friday night. But it's good to see him back. I know he was looking very likely to be on the IR to start the year, so it's pretty miraculous. And hopefully they just go slow with him, to start the year. We don't need any re-injuries there. Samaje Perine is going to play week 1. More Ricky Pearsall news, and my sense is the Bengals have intensified efforts in recent days to place Ja'Marr Chase among the NFL's highest paid receivers. I thought it was interesting that a couple other teams tried to get Josh Jacobs here. I think he was a pretty sought-after player. Where are we at? We got Tony Pollard and Jaylen Warren off the board. Devontae is making a lot of my favorite picks down there. I'm curious to see what that team looks like. So far for me, I got one more flex spot to fill. I'm not opposed to hammering running back or receiver here. I'm not going tight end or quarterback though. Maybe tight end. Maybe a tight end would be fun. We'll see. Nobody wants the Dak Prescott, huh? I just want to see it. Anybody need a quarterback yet? Tony Montana is going to He's going to get the Dak Prescott, Jordan Love victory here. It looks like Chase needs a QB yet here, so he's probably looking at Dak or J-Love right now. I think that's probably just 2 teams without a quarterback then. Raheem Mostert. Harris needs a quarterback, so 3 teams without a quarterback so far. We'll see how it pans out for these guys. I'm going to start looking at some players for my picks here. The running backs are looking pretty stinky. Sutton, Addison, McConkey, Keon Coleman. Yeah, you guys are too good here. Yeah, the Jaden pull is one of my favorite pulls for the quarterback. I like waiting for Jaden. Jaden Daniels is going to be fun this year. I'm missing out on some of my favorite guys here. I missed out on Brian Thomas, Chase Brown. Good round for running backs here. Najee, Pollard, Warren, Spears, Mostert, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. I'm just getting hit left and right here. Missing out on all the running backs. Receivers are really beat up too here. There's not a lot that I like here, guys. RB3. I'm going to grab Chuba Hubbard here. I got a flex starter for at least the first 4 games, and we'll see what happens with Jonathan Brooks. Yeah, Chase Brown, man. You need some shares of Chase Brown. I like Chase Brown quite a bit. And Tony finally grabs Jordan Love there. That's probably the best quarterback value. To get Jordan Love at pick, whatever it is, pretty good. I like that value a lot. I'm going to go back to all positions here. Dak, Sutton, there's a lot of guys still floating at the quarterback position. I don't know what to think of Eckler. I kind of want to take J.K. Dobbins. Still don't know what's going on with Nick Chubb. Sutton, Addison, McConkey, Keon Coleman. It's so ugly. All right, we're going to take a running back here. F it. I'm gonna take a shot down here at Blake Corum. I want Blake Corum on my bench. I don't know if I love the player, but I love the situation. I will babysit Blake Corum and see what I can do with that. It's purely a handcuff play week 1, but there's a chance Corum could eat into Kieran Williams' workload more than we're thinking. I think that weird note about Kieran returning punts was a little bit different. That made me hesitate a little bit on Kieran. I think Corum, I think he's a fun, exciting back. He didn't really look good in any of the advanced metrics when I was looking at him the last season there in 2023. But Sean McVay, man, he gives running backs a workload that, we've seen Todd Gurley, seen it with Kieran Williams. We've seen a few other running backs come and go that he just feeds those guys. So I'll take a chance here, and I think Corum is one of those guys that I want on all my benches this year. The draft is slowing up. It's getting a little bit harder now as we get into these late rounds here. I'm curious when we're going to start seeing some defenses off the board. But we got Blake Corum, Cortland Sutton, and Zach Moss off the board so far. I need more receivers, so I'm hoping some of those guys fall back to me as teams are taking backups. And then there we go, Dak Prescott. So I think everybody's got a quarterback, maybe except Chase, who's probably playing the Brock Purdy sweepstakes, but we'll see there. Keon Coleman, Jordan Addison off the board. I mean, there's still so many good quarterbacks left. Purdy, I think Caleb Williams is fun. I think Trevor, Tua, Goff. Like, these quarterback rankings are pretty stupid here. Yeah. 1 QB leagues, man, you get rewarded for waiting for QB. It makes me sick. That's why I prefer Superflex. I think it's the way more interesting and exciting format because it actually makes you have to draft a quarterback. You can't wait for quarterbacks like you can in 1 QB leagues. Harris grabs Jonathan Brooks there. We got rookie receiver Ladd McConkey off the board to Devontae. Seeing some rookie receivers and some rookies come off the board here. We got Corum, Coleman, and McConkey, and Jonathan Brooks. So 3 straight rookies. We had a run on the rookies. And it looks like somebody did Ben come back in here? Yeah, Ben's back with us. So glad Ben was able to rejoin the squad. DeAndre Hopkins, man, I think that's one of the. I was considering taking Hopkins at pick 98, just because I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be fine. I know a lot of people are nervous about that little knee injury or whatever it was, but I think he's playing week 1. I think he's going to be the leading target for Will Levis, and he's still really good. I think a lot of people have been discounting Mr. DeAndre Hopkins. And I like the Josh Palmer pull down here, round 9, pick 11. Probably the number 1 receiver for the Chargers. Receivers are getting pretty fugly down here. I think there's a lot of guys that I like down here, so I'm probably going to be okay hammering some of these guys. Running backs, there's a ton of running backs that I like on the board here still, so I think I'll be fine grabbing some running backs. Ruben finishes round 9 there with Jalen Polk, one of the exciting rookie sleepers here. There's a chance he's going to be the number 1 receiver on the Patriots. We'll see how valuable that is. I don't think Jacoby Brissett's going to last very long. I'm going to give him, I don't know, how many games do we think we see out of Jacoby Brissett this year? I'm going to probably say 4 to 5 games before it transitions to Drake May. I think I want to see Drake May pretty soon here. I think he just gives them the best chance to win and should be one of the more exciting rookie quarterbacks, after the top 2 guys. Yeah, definitely getting a little bit more serious down here. Everyone's kind of taking more time to make these picks. I'm going to kind of just start reviewing some teams now. We kind of have enough of the meat here. We're all just kind of filling out our benches. We should have all of our starting lineups done. So Tony from the one hole, he's got Jordan Love. His running backs are CMC and Gus Edwards. So going to need some running backs there. I think that's what Tony's done in a lot of the mocks, is just hammer running backs late. His receivers are Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, T. Higgins, and Christian Watson. He definitely has a type. Chris Godwin's the smallest guy on the team. He likes those big outside receivers. Pretty good top 5 receiving group. And then Jake Ferguson, who I'm pretty comfortable with as my tight end 1. I like what Tony's built so far. George from the 103, he waited for Kyler Murray in the 7th round. Looks like he's got, is that Bijan Robinson there? He's got David Montgomery. So pretty good 1-2 punch at RB. Receivers, Olave, Kupp, Pittman, and Sutton. I really like Olave and Cooper Kupp. We'll see if Pittman and Sutton can kind of duke it out for some of these flex spots down here. He did slide in Jerome Ford there at the flex, which I think is going to be a pretty nice value to start the season. And we'll see if he can hold value as it gets, longer. And then Trey McBride. So pretty well balanced here. I think George is looking pretty good. John's team here. Shout out John. I don't know if John's watching tonight, but he ended up with Lamar Jackson, QB1. Running back, Zamir. He loves Zamir. John, you are a Zamir White enthusiast. Zamir White, Aaron Jones. Pretty interesting 1-2 punch at running back. Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, Debo, Zay Flowers. I think that's a really fun group of 4 wide receivers. Chase Brown and Zach Moss. So he gets the Bengals duo on the bench, which I like that. So he still needs a tight end, but he's going to be able to find some guys probably pretty soon. And I love the receivers, the running backs. You got the Bengal running back to figure out, and then we'll see if White and Aaron Jones can hold on to it. Sydney from the 105. Josh Allen and James Cook to start the draft. That's a fun little duo there. You got a lot of rushing upside between those two. Brian Robinson Jr. at RB2. Receivers are Amon-Ra, Ridley, Pickens, Brian Thomas. I think that's an interesting group of 4 guys there. I think it's pretty deep, and I like the Brian Thomas upside there as a rookie, and then George Kittle as tight end. So pretty well balanced. And then Dak Prescott, QB2, blocking somebody from getting another quarterback. Chase does not have a QB yet. He's on the clock right now. Running backs are Breece Hall, DeAndre Swift. On the bench, he's got Raheem Mostert. So pretty nice, top 3 running backs there. Very, very good receivers on this team. Drake London, Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, Christian Kirk, and Jordan Addison. So that's the engine of this team with Mark Andrews there at the tight end. So I like what Chase has got going on there. He's very deep. Brian from I think that's the 106. I might be off by a spot there, but Joe Burrow, can't complain with Joe Burrow, especially on a discount right now. Running backs, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson. On the bench, he's got Tajay Spears as the 3, which feels pretty good. Receivers, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, DJ Moore, and Keon Coleman with Jameson Williams on the bench. So I love the top 3, and then hopefully, one of Coleman or Jameson can pop, if not both. And then I really like Evan Ingram as my tight end 1 this year. I feel pretty good about him being one of the sleepers at the tight end spot. Chase continues to not take quarterback. Devontae at, I think this was the 108. He gets Jalen Hurts, QB1. Pacheco and Kenneth Walker, that's a really sexy RB2. That's a really nice duo there. Receivers are Garrett Wilson, Stephon Diggs, Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, and Khalil Shakir. Pretty good collection. You're going to have, Wilson and Diggs kind of be the 1-2 guys. And then between Worthy, McConkey, and Shakir, those guys will kind of, figure it out for the flex spots. I love Jalen Warren, RB3 in the flex. Your running backs, that's one of my favorite groups of running backs here. Pacheco, Walker, and Warren, and a little bit of Dalton Kincaid sprinkled in there as your tight end. I like Devontae's team quite a bit. It's okay. I don't like Jacoby Myers this year, but it happens. Harris doesn't have a QB yet either. So we got 2 dudes not going with a QB yet. Harris has some really nice running backs here though. ETN, Rachaad White, and James Conner. Also added Tony Pollard and Jonathan Brooks here. So he's really deep at running back. We'll pick up that team in a little bit here. I'm on the clock here. Brock Purdy still hanging around. I got Marquise Brown at the top of the receiver list here, which is looking pretty fun. I'm gonna try something that I don't normally do. I'm gonna grab TJ Hawkinson and I'll just move him to my IR, when I can, and figure it out from there. I think that's and I have Travis Kelce, which he'll keep me. Tony outsmarted me. I was gonna get Rico Dowdle next. Tony does it again. I should have known it. I was reviewing his team and I just looked at those running backs and I should have probably grabbed a running back there. So good pull by Tony there. But I like a lot of these receivers yet. I'm probably going to hold on some of the running backs, even though I do need a running back soon. And then he grabs Josh Downs, one of my guys. I'm going to take a shot on Marquise Brown. I think Marquise Brown this late feels pretty good. And I know he's not going to play week 1, but I think I'm going to be happy with Brown as a flex option most weeks and just continue to build out that Chiefs stack. But I left off on Harris's team here. His receivers are Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Cooper, Jaden Reed, and Curtis Samuel. So he's pretty solid. 5 receivers and 5 running backs so far. I like his depth quite a bit. Obviously, Jamar Chase needs to play, but he's got Jaden Reed to pull up if not. Ben's team, Anthony Richardson, which we like Richardson. You got Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. That's spicy. That's a lot of yards and touchdowns there for the Colts. And then Kieran Williams, RB2. So JT, Kieran, top 2 running backs. Najee, RB3. Pretty good trio of backs there for Ben. Receivers are Ayuk, Tank Dell, Keenan Allen, D-Hop, and Tyler Lockett. So kind of going with some older dudes here, Keenan, D-Hop, and Lockett. Those guys should be very useful to start the year. We'll see if Ayuk and Tank Dell can continue to play where they left off last year. Zach's team from the 111, he pounced on Jaden Daniels here as his QB1. Running backs are exciting. Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Alvin Kamara, and Austin Eckler. That's probably like 200-plus catches between the 4 of those guys here. So definitely a type there by Zach. Love the running backs. Receivers, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, and Josh Palmer. I think this is a really good team, Zach. I think it's a lot of fun, a lot of receptions, and this is a really nice build there by Zach. And then Ruben from the 12, CJ Stroud, QB1, Barkley, Mixon, so some veteran running backs here that should be pretty dependable every week. Devin Singletary, just another dependable player here, and just with having 3 good running backs that he can trust, he's got Trey Benson here as his 4. Which could, as the season goes on, it could be of use. Then you have receivers Nakua, Devonta Smith, Romo Dunze, and Jalen Polk. So he's sprinkling in a couple of rookies down here, which I like to pair with Trey Benson. And then Kyle Pitts, who I think Kyle Pitts is a fantastic tight end this year. Pretty good stuff so far. Everyone's got a really nice, stable base. And we're still waiting to see on these quarterbacks. Chase continues not to take a QB. I don't think Harris has one. We'll see if Harris grabs one coming up here. A lot of good sleeper picks in this round, though. We started off with Josh Downs, Marquise Brown. I think Julian McLaughlin is interesting. Ty Chandler, Adonai Mitchell, and J.K. Dobbins. Man, everything in fantasy usually says you don't want the guy coming off an Achilles tear, and Dobbins somehow wants me to draft him this year. He sucked me back in, and I think I'm willing to take a chance. Charbonnet, pretty solid backup down here. What I don't like about Charbonnet is that I can't use him unless Kenneth Walker's hurt. I could be wrong on that, but you'll find him on the top of almost every handcuff list here, because if Kenneth Walker misses time, we're starting Zach Charbonnet as like a top 15 back, which feels pretty good. I'm going to continue to search by flex because I just don't need quarterback with Pat Mahomes. And I'm probably going to continue to hammer running backs, receivers here. Nobody's pulled a defense yet, which is interesting. Nobody's pulled a defense yet, so we'll see what happens there. I've got a long wait yet to my next pick, so we'll see what happens. I'm still upset Tony got my Rico Dowdle here. I should have been smarter. I should have grabbed Rico at round 10, pick 11. That's my bad. Harris grabs Nick Chubb, Devontae with Tyler Algier. I like the idea of drafting these guys that I can stash on IR for 4 weeks. In leagues where you have IR, it does make sense to Hawkinson, Chubb. Is there any other else? I think there might be another running back or two that you could move. But I feel pretty good about, taking a shot on one of these guys in the 11th, 12th round and seeing what happens. Yeah, Harris is just hammering running backs right now. He's just added Nick Chubb to that collection. So I think he's got 6 running backs and 5 receivers so far. So he's loading up for the winter. How many tight ends are left? Tight ends are pretty ugly at this point here. I think Taysom Hill's a lot of fun. He would probably be my choice down here. I still think Goddard and Freiermuth and Schultz are interesting. Handful of receivers that I like here. We got some veterans and some young ones that I think could be of use. And the running backs are going to look like junk here pretty soon. They already do look like junk. But I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with me tonight. We whipped this up together, over the last month of August, and we were able to get everybody in and paid up. The $25 has been collected by everybody, so it will be fun to see who wins this league. We'll, throughout the season, we'll monitor it. Maybe I pull it up on a Wednesday night every now and then, and we just kind of see what's going on here. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me all summer, doing these mock drafts, prepping for fantasy football. It's like one of those things that it's like therapeutic for me. I would do it even if I wasn't talking, to people on the internet. I would still do it all by myself. And the fact that I got people hanging out with me and wanting to just be involved, it means a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you to everybody hanging out. This is a lot of fun. And I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be a really good season. We'll see if the Chiefs can repeat, but I think there's going to be a lot of like just balance across the league. I think the NFC is completely wide open. I don't know if the 49ers are the top team in the NFC this year. And the Chiefs, man, they got a lot of people gunning for them. You got Houston, you got Buffalo, you got Cincinnati, you got a few other teams there. So very excited for the football this year. It's hard to believe it's in 3 nights. It's Monday night already. It's in 3 nights. Hopefully you guys don't have DirecTV. I saw they got a little weird thing going on with ESPN. My parents called me and they were pissed. But we ain't got DirecTV around here. And hey, thank you, Harris, man. You're the man, Harris. We're entering the 12th round, and the first defense has come off the board. Dallas Cowboys by Zach. I was starting to think about defense, and I don't know. Oh, Chase has got the DirecTV. Oh no. We have the Amazon, we got Netflix, we got HBO, and then we have the Hulu package with Hulu, ESPN, and Disney. So I think I'm covered with all the things. On Sundays, I end up I bought a satellite that I watch Fox, CBS, and Sunday Night Football on. So those are like $18 on Amazon. You can get this thing, you can plug it in the back of your TV. But yeah, DirecTV, man. Not great. I was going to say in the league, I have one league. It's my keeper league that we play with defenses, and I always grab two. So that's one thing for me. I always want to be able to have choices. So I like to get, one defense that I'm going to stick with all year long, and then I'll continue to, play matchups or look at, 2, 3 weeks out and make sure I have those defenses lined up. Defense is important though, man. Like if you can't be taking zeros there. If I look at some of the numbers here, these guys are scoring 10, 10, 13, 9, 16, 23, 15, 12, 15, 18. Like a good defense goes a long way. I'm just looking at the 49ers here from last year. There's going to be those bad games every now and then, but when you can get 12, 16, 20, like personally, I hate kickers because I don't think there's as much strategy. Like defense, there's a lot of strategy. You got to look and see what the matchups are. You got to look and see if it's home, away, indoors, outdoors, kind of ride the waves on defenses. Whereas kickers, we're all just hoping to get 8 points, at that point. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Looking ahead to all those matchups, it does pay off. I'm probably going to grab a defense with one of these two picks. We'll see. I got to outthink Tony here, though. Tony's been kicking my ass on this turn. All right, we're not going quarterback here. Does Harris have a quarterback yet? Did I miss that? No quarterback still. He added Pat Freiermuth as his tight end, and Chase did grab Trevor Lawrence. So Chase finally jumped into the QB pool. All right, my receivers are pretty thin after JSN Marquise Brown. I do want to take a peek here. Davis, Thielen, Rashid. We got Jordan Mason off the board there. Good handcuff. I like some of the receivers that I'm seeing here. John grabs Romeo Doubs. Dang it. I wanted Romeo. I think Brandon Cooks is interesting, but I already got CeeDee Lamb here. So I'm just going to grab everybody's favorite sleeper here, Dontavian Wicks. Let him see what happens on my bench. And yeah, I didn't get Caleb Williams anywhere in either of my 2 dynasty drafts, my money league. Maybe I can get him tomorrow night in my super flex league. That probably makes a lot of sense as my QB2. But overall, no Caleb Williams shares for me yet. And Tony does it. He grabs Jalen Wright, who I really liked. That would have been a nice pull for me. Man, these running backs are ass. Receivers are pretty beat up right now. Nobody wants Goddard. Nobody wants Schultz. Taysom Hill. There goes Brandon Cooks. All right, I'm going to grab the New York Jets defense. And I was looking at the Jets defense, and I know they play the 49ers week 1. I'm probably not going to want to play them against the 49ers in week 1. But after the 49ers, they're going to get Tennessee, New England, Denver, Minnesota. That's a pretty good stretch. Any stretch where I can start a defense for 4 or 5 weeks, I'm pretty happy with that. They're going to play Buffalo on Monday night. Maybe I'm scared of that matchup, but I'm not scared of the Steelers. I'm not scared of the Patriots. Maybe a little scared of Houston and Arizona, but again, so this is one of the elite defenses. I do like them, for at least half the year. That does get a little bit tricky down here, but I was definitely looking at this 4 to 5 game stretch that's going to help me get through a lot of games. So I'll take the Jets defense, lock them up, and we'll see how it goes. 1, 2, 3 bench spots left. So we're going pretty deep here, boys. We'll see. We'll see what's going on here. A lot of people looking for handcuffs. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of defenses left. Tony's just got all my favorite running backs on his bench. He's got Jalen Wright. He got Rico Dowdle. Ugh. And I like Downs a lot. So Tony's been winning that battle there. Finally, Dallas Goedert off the board. Yeah, I used to be the biggest Dallas Goedert fan. I thought he was going to be the next greatest thing. And just when A.J. Brown went to town, that kind of just all evaporated. I thought Goddard was going to be kind of that number 1, number 2 tight end option in the passing game, but now he's kind of the clear number 3. I still like Dallas Goedert a lot. I think he can be of use. He just needs to stay healthy. He's had trouble staying healthy throughout the last few seasons, whereas AJ Brown and Devonta have been healthy. We got Ray Davis off the board, a good handcuff with some upside there. Not sure he's going to get a lot of touchdown opportunities, but if anything happens to James Cook, you got something there. I do want to pull up more flex players for my next turn. Jalen McMillan, that's a nice receiver pull there. I think McMillan excites me quite a bit, and especially in a dynasty league where he was just going way too late, end of round 3, early round 4 of your dynasty rookie drafts. Brian grabs the Browns defense. And I kind of have a thing where, like, to me, the draft feels like it's over now. Because honestly, like, we're probably cutting these players that we're taking right now, right? Like, these are going to be some of the first players that we cut on our teams when we're looking at that waiver wire option in week 2. We're going to see what we were right about, what we were wrong about. But there's a good chance that your bottom 2-3 spots on your team are going to get cut. So I wouldn't really think too much about this spot. I'm kind of looking for guys that, I could either sit on for the whole season, or, maybe they have a really good rollout week 1. And I know right away if I'm going to be using these guys and feeling good about that. I am putting Hawkinson in my IR. I'm putting Marquise Brown down there. I'll be able to make some more pickups with those guys out. And it looks like we're just finishing up the 13th round here. Got some backup QBs coming off the board. Jared Goff, I think that's Harris's QB1. So did he get the Waddle? He got the Waddle Tua stack. So it looks pretty good, man. Waiting for QB looks pretty good. And I just want to see Chase's team real quick. He ended up with Trevor Lawrence. Curious if he pulls maybe one more QB there by both those guys, honestly. Let's see. So Thielen, Goddard, Davis, McMillan, Browns D, Jared Goff, Tua, Leggett, Herbert, and Dalton Schultz. I'm still very curious on Xavier Leggett. He's one of those guys that I think will know pretty soon if he's good, kind of like Keon Coleman. If these guys come out and they dud week 1, we're going to be a little bit skeptical. But if they come out and they catch 80 yards and a touchdown, we're going to be like, okay, like these guys got something going. So that excites me. These rookies that could have a big rollout week 1. 49ers defense by Ruben and Tyler Conklin, Khalil Herbert. I do want to look around here as I'm coming up to pick some handcuffy type running backs. There's a few guys that I like down here. Gabe Davis, Michael Wilson. Demarcus Robinson intrigues me as the number 3 for the Rams. I want to see Rashad Bateman be good at football. He was exciting when he came into the league, and he just hasn't been able to do it. Wow, these receivers are junk. I gotta look and see what Tony needs. Tony needs a defense. He's also gonna probably take a running back. I see you, Tony. Antonio Gibson, I like Gibson this late as a pass catching running back. We got a few good defenses left out here yet that I feel pretty good about. I was looking at the Bears schedule. I think the Bears are interesting. Tennessee, you can play them against Tennessee, maybe against Houston, maybe against the Colts, maybe against the Rams. But then, Carolina, Jacksonville, Washington, I think I like the Bears defense in those games. Maybe against Arizona, but definitely against the Patriots. Probably not against these 4 teams, maybe the Vikings. Bears are looking okay this year. I don't think the Bears are making the playoffs this year just because the Packers and the Lions are so good. But I do expect it to be Packers, Lions 1-2, Bears the clear 3, the Vikings the 4th team. And we're on the board here. I'm grabbing my starting defense for week 1, the Cincinnati Bengals against the New England Patriots. We'll go with that. They'll give me some value there. And then I gotta see what Tony Montana's doing here. He gets the DeMarcus. And he takes Vidal. Okay. I'm gonna grab another Chief here, Samaje Perine. We'll see what happens. I need bodies at the running back spot here, and I kind of got a little Kansas City thing going on here. So we're entering the final 2 rounds of the draft here. Me and Tony will wrap it up the next time it comes back around. We are really in the depths of hell here, looking at backup running backs, RB3s, and wide receiver 4s on teams. Hopefully, you guys had fun drafting tonight. I had a lot of fun. I do want to let you guys know that my waiver wire system for this league is going to be a 2-day waivers, which means, so for me, I hate having waiver wires like when you have to put your bids in on a Tuesday night and then they go through on Wednesday morning and you get your guys when we don't have all the information. We don't have all the information of a practice report from Wednesday. So all of my leagues that I run, I set up a 2-day waiver because the new league starts on a Tuesday, right? So it takes 2 days and then that Wednesday night. So we'll be putting our bids in on Wednesday night, getting all the news on Wednesday with the practice reports. And then Thursday morning when we wake up, our bids will have been processed. So it's a 2-day waivers, no keepers. I set a trade deadline limit here of the 27th. There's no trade review. So as long as we're not colluding, it'll be fine. And then, yeah, weeks 1 through 14, regular season. And yes, 7 teams will make the playoffs, with total points being the tiebreaker. But let me know if you guys have any other questions or, if someone wants to start a thread with some ideas for rules or, roster settings, scoring settings for next year. I'm totally open to that. It's pretty straightforward league. The only difference here is we don't have kickers and we got an extra flex in the starting lineup. So to me, I think just having one flex is kind of too easy because like everyone's going to have a good flex player. It's that second flex where that's going to create a lot of roster decisions on your team each week. I'm probably going to be getting a ton of questions on guys, do I start Chuba Hubbard or do I start, this receiver, something like that. It does take a little bit more skill to get those 2 flex positions right every week. So I kind of like I like the long depth roster for starting rosters. But we're moving into the 15th round right now. Dolphins D off the board. Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen, and Geno Smith there. Chase grabs Geno Smith as his QB2. I think the Seahawks are going to throw the ball a ton this year. I'm excited for that passing offense. I think we might see a bounce back here from Geno Smith and the boys. So I like that pick there. More handcuffs, Justice Hill. I like Justice Hill as the RB2 to start the year. If Derrick Henry gets hurt, you got something with Justice Hill. And he's just a very dependable receiving kind of third down back. A pretty good value this late. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my last pick here. I definitely, I guess if I'm reviewing my team here, I got Mahomes, which I feel good about. I got Kelsey, which I feel good about. And I also locked in TJ Hawkinson on my bench. We'll get him back at some point this year. So that feels good. Running backs, I'm a little nervous, though. I got Jacobs and Javonte, which feel good. But after that, I'm a little concerned. I have Chuba, I have Blake Corum, and just Samaje Perine. So I'm only rocking 5 running backs here. But it's more like only 2. Like, I'm not using Corum. I guess I have 3 with Chuba, but that's only for so long. Receiver, I feel good about. CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, top 2 studs. But JSN, Marquise Brown, my next, wide receivers 3s and 4. And then we'll see if I can get anything out of Dontavian Wicks at some point this year. Dontavian Wicks is exciting because he just needs one injury, to enter the starting lineup, and he might take off from there. So I'll babysit Dontavian Wicks here. But we're in the final pick of the 15th round. We did see Taysom Hill, Kendrick Bourne, Lions D, and Wan'Dale Robinson off the board. We'll see what Ruben does here to send it home. All right, Gabe Davis off the board. And we made it. We're in the final round of the draft. Again, I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with me on a Monday night. Hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend. And man, it's such a crazy long summer, but like these days right now are flying so fast as we approach the start of the NFL season. And I'm glad we had a great summer, guys. We had a really great summer and excited to dominate this year. Looking at the receivers on the waiver wire, there's not a lot that I like here. But I do think Josh Reynolds is the number 2 receiver for the Broncos. I think Tyler Boyd is interesting. He's back with Brian Callahan there, all of his time with Cincinnati. I think Tyler Boyd could be a useful flex option. I think Andre Yoshivas could, if Jamar Chase is missing games, Yoshivas could be a guy that gets some targets. Otherwise, maybe Greg Dortch, maybe Jahan Dotson. If, one of those other guys gets hurt, it's pretty ugly down here. We might see Alec Pierce get a start, to the year with no Josh Downs. I'm probably going to be looking at running backs here. I might even take a third defense. I don't know. I might take a third defense. We shall see. What defenses are left? Yikes. A lot of junk. Chiefs D in the 16th round. That's a good deal there by Zach. I like what he was able to get for value. Trey Sermon, the RB2 in Indianapolis. I still like Trey Sermon. I was pretty excited about him coming out, and he just couldn't stick with couldn't hang with the 49ers. But he's kind of locked into the RB2 role in Indianapolis, and I think he's injured, but he's on track to play. I'm not quite sure what the update is, but Wednesday, guys, we're going to get such a good injury report there on Wednesday night. So hopefully a lot of our answers and worries are, up and done with. I like the Keaton Mitchell pull there by Devontae, because you can put Keaton Mitchell on the bench or on the IR spot and stash him for, the first month and see what happens. He was kind of like a Devon Achane type last year. He had some big games, some big plays when he was getting the ball, man. He was going to the touchdown. He was making big chunk plays. Houston Texans D off the board. I don't know what I want, man. The running backs, I don't know if there's any league-winning running backs down here. I think Tyrone Tracy is interesting as the Giants passing down back potentially. Roschon. Tank Bigsby, RB2 for ETN. Not a lot I love down here, I'll be honest. Dylan Lobby, maybe. It's the receiving back in the Raiders. I don't know if Alexander Madison can hold that down. We got Musgrave, Seahawks D off the board, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this final pick here. I think Andre Yoshivas is kind of a fun up-and-coming player. Should be the wide receiver 3 for Cincinnati this year. And I didn't get any Bengals. There goes Chico Conquo, and we are up to pick. I'm probably cutting this player, so I don't know what to do. I'm going to take Yoshivas and hold on to him for the week just in case Jamar Chase don't play. So there you go. I drafted Andre Yoshivas with my last pick, and we're done. The draft is done. I'm not going to review the teams. We kind of did a mini review halfway through, but this was a lot of fun, guys. I think this was a very competitive draft, and I think everybody ended up with a pretty solid team overall. I didn't see anything glaringly bad. There was just a lot of well-balanced teams, and I'm excited, man. Thank you guys so much again for hanging out with me tonight. Good luck this season. Hopefully you guys will win some championships, and hopefully I helped you guys, at least make some decisions or get you onto some players or teach you some things along the way. That's kind of why I like to do this. And I'm so happy to have people that want to hang out with me, draft with me, participate in the chat, and all that good stuff. So thank you again so much for your time, guys. Good luck this season. We'll see you Wednesday night. If you guys want to hang out with me Wednesday night, we'll talk about the upcoming week 1 games and figure out some information. So have a good night. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.